Following program is presented by We Don't Know Sports. Sports have gotten way too serious as of late, and we're just here to have a little fun. Be sure to subscribe for updates and follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. We Don't Know Sports, where we just decided let's not take things too serious and just have a little bit of fun. The following episode of Beat the Shift with Greg Rawlings is sponsored in part by Big Timber Brewing Company. Big Timber Brewing is a tap room located right here in the heart of Appalachia. But you know what? It's more than that. They've paid homage to the surrounding forests and the industry that's built some of these communities, but they're making beer that not only do they love, but the community also enjoys just as much, creating a product that the entire state can take pride in. What started as a dream became a reality in 2014 when their first keg went out the door, and their commitment to beer, the community, and their dream continues and grows stronger every day. Thank you, and special shout out to Big Timber Brewing Company right here in Elkins, West Virginia. It's time to start the show, and we got two guests joining Greg this week, and it's a catcher's edition. So we have Mr. Ed Hearn from the 86 Mets, and he may or may not just be the star of the 30 for 30 that the Four Letter Network put out not too long ago. And then we went to the other side of the city, and we found a catcher for the World Series 78 Yankees and went and got our good friend Mike Heath to come back on the show. So this is a catcher's edition, and we took all your questions from social media, and we're bringing it to these guys so we can hear all about life behind the mask. This is Beat the Shift with Greg Rawlings, and here's your host, Greg Rawlings.
Welcome to the show, guys. Ed, how you been, man?
Man, I'm doing all right, man. You know, I feel good for how I feel.
There you go. Hey, all I'm going to ask at the beginning here, I know you're a huge Chiefs guy, so don't pick on me about my Raiders' performance Monday night because my heart can't take it right now, okay? Is that fair?
Hey, man, well, the Chiefs been struggling along too, brother. That's all right, man. It's going to be a race to the end going that West.
You're all going to get a defense before it's over with.
Well, or we're going to score 100 points a game. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
All's good, Greg. How's everybody doing, Ed? You all right?
Yes, sir. Good to see you, my man. I'm honored to be on the show with you, brother.
Nice seeing you, my friend. We're all good. We're ready to rock and roll here, gentlemen.
I've been living vicariously through you on your Facebook and watching you tour the country on your bike and seeing all these beautiful places and photos. And I'm like, man, that looks like fun. You know, I'm just living through you while I'm at UPS slaving away.
Well, stay tuned because next weekend I'm going up to the mountains and me and a friend, and we're going to head up there and ride the mountains of northern Georgia again.
Outstanding. They're going to jump in here in a minute and ask about your bike and all that. I saw that as one of the fan questions, so we're going to dive in a little deeper on that here in a little bit in the fan Q&A.
Amen.
So let's get started here. As far as the and this one's for you. The 86 documentary that just came out, I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't seen it yet. So for me and everyone else that hasn't seen it, what's your one takeaway and what's the reason why we should watch if we haven't already?
Well, I mean, to tell you, boy, I mean, everybody knows about the 86 team. It was a rude team. The takeaway I'll give you is that I told my parents it was going to be on, and my mom called me and she said, son, if I had known that was going on, I'd have had a heart attack.
So what we think is perception was actually reality for that team. That's what you're saying.
They had about 50%. Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. So, Mike, this one's for you, buddy. We kind of touched on it last week, but why are you such a bully to Hall of Famers?
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're talking about the two instances with one with Jim Rice and the other one with what's his name?
Some big dude. I don't remember his name.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, the one with Dave Winfield, we were in New York, and Mike Norris was the pitcher on the mound, and normally you kind of try to chase him in to tie him up because he's got long arms. Well, we were going to throw one way off the plate off of him and try to get him to chase it down the way. Well, Mike let it go and accidentally got up and in on him. And when he goes down and he starts pointing at the out at the mound, and so Mike Norris gives him a low five, so Winfield comes out there and said, "Norris, I'm going to kick your ass right now." And I went around Winnie. I said, "Look, the ball just got away from him," but he says, "I'm going to start with your ass right now," and that's how that one started. So it's just nobody gets to the mound off my pitchers. I don't care who they are, but I always seem to pick up the nobody's made it to the mound. So, and Jim Rice was arguing over pitches and stuff like that. That guys were loading it up, and so it was just a ball contest between them.
So it's one of those things as a catcher, being a catcher show here. If you got to take up for your pitcher no matter what, no matter who's in the batter's box, correct? I mean, you got to show that you got their back.
Correct. Of course, you're not going to let nobody get out there, and you can't let nobody, try to play bad on your pitcher. I mean, we all got to go through the same thing as a hitter, as a defensive player. But yeah, you don't let nobody say stuff to the pitcher. That's
all right. Before we jump into Q&As, do you, either of you, and I'll start with Ed, do you all have a rooting interest in this year's postseason? Is there a team that you'd like to see win it all, or are you not really following it this year?
Well, is something going on right now? Is this baseball?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, who's playing?
Exactly.
Who's playing? There you go.
They're playing tomorrow. That's all I care about.
There you go. Well, okay. Well, I don't really care. I don't. 1994 kind of burned me out on the game, and all this I, me, and all that junk, man, just wore me out. I will confess that I did subscribe to MLB broadcast because we got offered a discount for the alumni, and the one reason I did, I haven't watched baseball in 10 years. That's what my wife wants about the Mercedes Bear in Kansas City with the Royals, but I got that TV package because I wanted to see that kid, not a kid anymore, but DeGrom pitch. Man, he is awesome. And so, honest to God, otherwise, I'm just not into watching baseball.
I mean, and I understand that the game's changed a lot, and we're going to touch on that. But two things to follow up on what you said: DeGrom, hands down, when healthy, is the best pitcher in baseball, and it's not close. He can throw any pitch on any count wherever he wants, and he can throw 100 all the way through up until the ninth inning or however long he stays in. But second, how awesome is it that Salvi Perez, being a catcher for the Royals, leads the American League in home runs this year?
Man, that is awesome. Got to pull for the catchers, man.
Right.
We may not be the best looking guys, right, Mike? But we workhorses, and sometimes we pay the price. And I just got asked the other day about, how hard is it to hit when you're a catcher? Well, obviously it's hard because we're not, we're out there on defense. That's our main job, and we're not out there practicing our swing in the outfield or trying to get some chick out stands. That's our most important job, is being defensively taking care of the pitcher. And so all the hitting and all secondary. So for Salvi to do that, man, for any catcher to do it, amen. Right on, brother.
How about you, Mike? You got a dog in the fight, or you just kind of, it don't really matter to you?
I really don't care, to be honest with you. If I'm gonna root for a team, I like the Tigers and I like the Oakland A's, but and I like my Rays too. But I don't follow baseball anymore. I'm more of a NASCAR guy.
We won't hold it against you, all right?
All right.
Hey,
All right,
Mike, what's the problem when they throw that yellow flag up and the guy's leading by 85 seconds and then they pull them all right up against each other's bumper? I don't know how you handle that stuff, man. I know you go delete this, but I just had to ask that.
Yeah, they throw that caution out there, and it kind of brings the field back together, and let's see who's going to beat it to the finish line from there.
I know, it cracks me up, man. I can't stand it. Sorry, Greg.
No, that's great. Y'all talk as much as you want. I just got to sit here and listen to you. I'm fine for the rest of the night, believe me. So, Ed, Josh Wright wants to know what you think of Mike Scott.
I'm sure he's a real nice fellow. I've never met the guy in person, but he used to get some hair on the top of the head, I would say, first of all. But I can tell you this: what I can tell you about Mike Scott is the man was absolutely dominating in 1986. And yes, he was. And you know, I got one right here. I got the evidence.
Oh,
The man was mixing it up right there.
oh
I
shit.
mean, but I'll tell you what, however you do it, if you don't get caught, I'm saying all in, man. So my hat's off to Mike. If we had not won Game 6 of that National League playoff against the Astros, it was 16 innings, we'd have been home with our crying tales, no doubt about it. He was in our minds big time.
Does MLB know you have that ball, or do we need to delete this part out so they don't know where it is?
No, they don't care. We sent them 24 of them. I'm the guy who found the darn things. I was sitting on the bench, and you know, it's finally occurred to me. You'd think a catcher would figure this out, but they're rolling out all the balls to the bat boy in the on deck circle, or you know, on that side of the dugout. And finally, I saw a ball rolling. I'm, oh, wait a second. So I got went down there and sat by the bat boy, and I looked at every ball that got thrown out. And it only took about one inning with him out there. But, you know, two innings, and I was sure, and I had probably 8 or 10 by then, about every third ball that came out when he was pitching was same spot on the ball, same exact design.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I took him to Hernandez first, to Mex, and then Mex took him to Davey. We sent him into the league, but of course they ain't going to do anything with, you know, I mean, how are they going to do anything in the postseason like that? So, you know, yeah, you tell him, you know, I'll sell him one if he wants one.
Hey, sadly, Manfred's still worried about like crazy runners, like the ghost runner on second base and extra innings and that type of shit. So you're probably right. He don't care.
Oh, Lord have mercy, please.
So, Mike, this one's for you from Matt Claremont. He says you were a veteran on the 91 Atlanta Braves in your last year in the big leagues. What was that role like on an upcoming team of young stars, and did you have any memories that stand out from that 91 season?
Well, the thing about that is the Braves went out. They went in the 90. They were the last place team, so they went out and got some new look free agents. They call us new look, and Terry Pendleton, Sid Bream, myself, Juan Berenguer, ingredients of veterans that came in with these young guys. But those guys were ready to pop anyhow. They were ready to and reel it off because they had some great talent on that ball club. But spring training, I had an elbow injury, and I got injected, and so I played about a month and a half, 2 months, and then it came back, and that was basically the end of my career. But what I do remember about that, whenever I got over there, Bobby Cox had called me in the office, and he had asked, he had said that, hey, he says, you know, you're a catcher that calls, you know, the game backwards at times. In other words, fastball counter, throw all speed stuff and like that. And that's what we liked about you. And we want, you know, John Smoltz to do that because Johnny had a 96-mile-an-hour fastball with a hell of a cutter or slider. So he said, you know, your job is to catch him. We want you to start throwing his cutter or slider when he's behind in the count, and you're good at that. So that was one of the things I remember. Bobby called me in, and then Bobby also wanted me to come up with a set of different signs, and I came up with, I felt, a great set of signs, and we used them the whole year, and you could see guys at second base shaking their head like they couldn't get them. So that was two of the things that I thought that stood out. Plus those guys, all those guys on that ball club, they were great.
I got the Sid Bream photo behind me. I believe that was 92 though. It's autographed when Francisco Cabrera knocked in Sid, and we got to witness Barry Bonds' noodle arm. But Sid slid, and he was fast enough that day. Yeah,
Sid was the other guy I was thinking about, new look free agent. But here's one thing that happened in the clubhouse prior to playing the Pirates. After our meeting we had on how to go over guys and what to do and how to pitch guys and watch their defense, Terry Pendleton stood up and he said, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, Bond is not a postseason player as far as defensively. Take every base you can on him because he does not make good throws. He will rush himself, and he doesn't make good throws. And look at that play with Sid Bream. That's exactly basically what we did in that thing. Sid just kept going, and he threw the ball not up the line. He threw the ball towards the first base side, and it was a throw. And actually, if he makes a good throw there, Sid's out. So we put the pressure on Bonds every time we could in the outfield to make him make a throw.
And it worked out on that occasion for sure. It's one of the biggest plays that I can remember growing up for sure. This next question is from Detroit Dan Emery. It's for both of you. But we're going to start first with Ed. What's your favorite stadium that you played in?
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. I love playing at Wrigley. Absolutely, just I think it was as much the fans. Well, the ballpark's very unique, of course. All the vine and all that stuff, and the fans are right on top of you. I mean, there's not much room behind the catcher. Not a lot of foul territory, which makes nice for batting, batting averages. But the fans are very knowledgeable. They drink good. They drink much, and they get on you. I mean, it's not like a bad ragging on you like say a New York or a Philly type thing, but they bust your chop pretty hard. But then you go to get on the bus back to the motel after a taxi, whatever. And here's this guy, hey man, you want to go? We're gonna treat you, man. You want steak and beer on us, man? I'm like, wait, man, you dudes is busted on my mama. I mean, but that's how those folks were. That's the way I found it, so I enjoyed it. Now they can remake that damn clubhouse. I'll tell you, whoa. I mean, that thing, that was like you couldn't fit Barbie doll in there. But otherwise, I really enjoyed Wrigley. I didn't care how long the fence is, all that. I just enjoyed those aspects as unique. And the fans were very knowledgeable. They got drunk and had a good time. And it was fun to watch people in the stands if you weren't in the game. And they come at you hard, but they, like I said, they come back and take you out. It's all right, man.
I think me and the crew next year, we're going to head and do a stadium tour of Wrigley and then catch a ball game there because I've been to Fenway. So now I've got to check out Wrigley because you just got to go to Wrigley as a baseball fan. So I can't wait to go, and I think it'd be an awesome experience. So I can see that one. Mike, what about you? Do you have a stadium that stood out for you?
Yeah, actually, there's kind of two. I didn't spend much time in the National League, so I hit the ballparks, but they weren't quaint, like I was in the American League. And I loved Anaheim, California, and the stadium there. I don't know what it was. I thought it was a beautiful setting there and everything, but I love the stadium. And that's, but and then Fenway was another one. I really loved Fenway, the look of it. And there's a little story about Fenway, and it probably is why, if you don't mind me going into it. In '72, my mom had to go up in Boston, and I went up with her. I was in high school, a junior in high school, because she was a MasterCard division at the bank. So, and we were up in the Central building. I think that's the building out there. And they were having a game down in Fenway, and I told my mom one day I'm going to be playing in that ballpark. So, that was kind of a laughing and all that. Yeah, Fenway and Anaheim were my two favorites.
I thought, like Ed touched on, the Boston fans, they were very knowledgeable when I went that one game. And I was a little inebriated when I went because I was there for a work meeting. But singing Sweet Caroline in the seventh inning or whatever inning, sixth inning was pretty sweet, too, to hearing all them fans do that. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Of course, in the game, I don't remember much whenever I'm playing out there. I just stay focused in on the game, man. I didn't pay attention to what was going on in the hands.
It was a great atmosphere. So, I mean, I like that's probably one of my top experiences going to a ball game was at Fenway for sure. Not even being a Red Sox fan. So I feel you on that one.
One of the things you talk about those California stadiums. For me, my first major league game was Dodger Stadium, and I noticed over my time, which wasn't nearly anything close to Michael, but the folks would come in about third inning, and then they'd be leaving about seventh inning. I mean, you will get a ticket. I mean, why don't you watch a little bit more of the ball game? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it would go from being a third of the fans, and then by third inning, there's you got however many's gonna be that night, and then the seventh inning, you look up and everybody's gone. Not everybody, but it's crazy.
They had to get Johnny Carson.
We were talking about that last night. It's a win or go home game against the Cardinals, and there was empty seats in the stands last night on a win or go home game. It's like they just casually show up and we'll just get here when we get here type thing.
Exactly.
So this one's for both of you. We can start with Ed again. This question's from Stephen Self. Sorry. What's it like catching a knuckleball? I don't know if both of you's caught a knuckleball, but Ed, what's a knuckleball like?
Oh, Lordy be. I never really caught any of the great knuckleballers. Mike Nipper was playing one with one near the end of his career. Caught him, and they gave me this big old waffle glove. And I mean, it's a challenge. Wasn't it Yogi who said the best way to catch a knuckleball is just back to backstop and pick it up? And right? I mean,
wait till it stops rolling.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's crazy, especially when you got people on base. That's the worst part of it is, and trying to throw anybody out is a real challenge in when you catch a true knuckleball.
How about you, Mike? Did you have the experience of that?
No, the only Doyle Alexander tried it a little bit with the Tigers when he was with us, and he threw it a little bit, but like I said, none of the famous guys like Nuxie or Wilbur Wood or any of those guys.
Yep.
Gotcha. I think the most recent one that I can think of off the top of my head was we had R.A. Dickey and Tim Wakefield. I think it's the last couple, but there's not many.
No.
This one's for you, Ed. Dusty Fizzell would like to know what it was like playing with Bo Jackson.
Oh, Dusty. Great question, Dusty. Man alive. What you think of Bo, you add another 100% on that. The man was just so gifted. And people ask me a lot of times, like, what kind of person is Bo Jackson? And my response is, hey, he likes to hunt and fish, so he's okay in my book.
There you go.
But truly, to see a man of that size, with that strength, to have that speed, to have that power, I mean, the total package. And I could tell you a story, but I'm afraid I might get out there, and I don't want to get out there. Well, I don't care. I'll tell it. Doggone it. Yeah, Bo Jackson. This is my favorite Bo Jackson story. Yep. So, I hurt my shoulder there at 87, and in Kansas City, I came in the locker room. I'd get dressed and hang out, get out of there. It's kind of hard when you're hurt, staying there with all game and stuff. Well, they did a defensive replacement for Bo. And he came in the shower. I was like, that's not real common, this dude come in there, but Bo was pretty much Bo. He pretty much knew what he wanted, I guess. But so he was in there ahead of me in the shower, and I walked in there, and there Bo was taking a shower, and I'm like, dang, Bo, man, dude, guys got to cut a man short somewhere, man. You run, you hit, you power, all this stuff. That ain't right, dude. I mean, how in the hell are you running bases with that thing? I mean, that ain't right. And the best part of the story was he turned around to me and, he stuttered. And he turned around to me and said, oh, Eddie, oh. So I don't know what you was asking about, my friend, but, I don't know. Might as well tell it all, brother.
Oh, wow. Bo knew, though, right?
And Bo had it all, baby.
Oh, wow. Similar question for you, Mike. What were your thoughts on the young Ricky Henderson?
Ricky was a specimen. I mean, he didn't get in the weight room or anything like that, but Ricky was always chiseled, man. He must have worked out earlier. But Ricky was a great guy. I mean, some guys would say this, that, and the other, but Ricky's like a brother to me in roundabout ways. He was really always generous and kind, and he played hard, man. He really played hard with us in Oakland. But I can't say enough good things about Ricky, but always a good guy. Yeah, everybody said he talked in the third person or whatever, but just a super guy.
Yeah, that's kind of been a takeaway that I've heard from a lot of people is like the arrogance part. But to me, competitiveness and playing hard, and I think you need to be a little arrogant. I mean, not saying you have to be over the top, but if you're that damn good, I mean, you want to kind of impose your will, especially for him on the base pass. And if you do that, you're going to get in people's heads, I think.
Well, I think all of us got a little bit of arrogance to us. Every athlete does, I feel. You're a little arrogant when you get out there because you're pretty good and you want to do your job the best you can, and nobody's going to beat you that day. Every time I faced a hitter, a pitcher, I was going to beat him hitting. Anytime I wanted somebody to come into home plate, that's my home plate. So I guess I was a little arrogant too, but I think all athletes have to be.
I agree with that.
I think pitchers in particular, Mike, you have to show confidence. As a hitter, I think all of us looking at pitchers and they get in a situation, and you can see in some of these guys where they just were, like there's some guys, Mike, my opinion, a lot of guys be five and divers. They go 5 innings and they got to win. They're looking over their shoulder, looking to that dugout for, hey, maybe maybe like today's guys. But back in the day, you get up there against Clemens and stuff, and Nolan, them guys just, they want to kick your butt. At least that's what it appears like anyway. So, your attitude is very important. And even if you ain't feeling it, you got to portray it, in my opinion.
I agree. You weren't talking about Scott Sanderson, were you?
No.
We got. Let's get him in the group.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is for you, Ed, from Andy Sunborg. He says, we kind of touched on it already, but Ed, your rookie year, you guys broke my heart as a lifelong Astros fan. Was Mike Scott as dominant as he looked that year? So do you have anything more to add about that? We kind of touched on it already.
I can't. Mike was absolutely incredible. As dominating as a pitcher could be. And like I said, hats off to the man. He got her done. And, if you get her done and you don't get caught, that's another story. But, yeah, brother, he was – I guarantee you we would have lost that next game if he hadn't beat us or if we hadn't beaten them in 16.
I don't have the numbers in front. Oh, you're good. You're good. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but who won that Cy Young that year in '86? Was it him?
I got to plead. I'm getting old.
Yeah, it's okay. Because Dwight was really good that year too. I think that's the year he went nuts, right?
Yeah, he was his best the year before.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Mike. So this is also from Andy Sunborg. He says, your first year with the Yankees, you went through 3 managers on your way to a title. Must have been an interesting season with all the personalities on the team.
Yeah, it is. It was, matter of fact. In fact, I started from the beginning. I was in Double-A, and after our game, we were sitting at the ground round in West Haven, Connecticut, having dinner, and it was Rick Stone, Nate Chapman, a couple of us sitting there in our wives, and someone tells me they're going to call you up, man, because Cliff Johnson's catching, Fran Healy got hurt, Thurman got hurt, so they're going to call you up. I said, no, they're going to call up Nairn. So anyhow, I'll make this short. I get home about 12:30 that night. I get a phone call from the general manager of West Haven Yankees, Bob Zai, and he says, "Hey man, pack your bags. You're going up." And I told him, I said, "Bob, I know they called up Nairn, so I don't want to go. Tell the Yankees I don't want to go to Tacoma." He said, "No, man, you're going to the big leagues, man." So he put me in that next day, and walking in the clubhouse was just amazing. It was just an amazing place to be, with all the tradition and the players that come in and out of there, and the players that were there at that point. But Yes, I'm talking about for a rookie coming up there and seeing the diversity of managers and the problems supposedly the team was having, and around and go all the way and have force a 1-game playoff with the Boston Red Sox and Bucky Dent 3-run homer, and having Bill Martin as a manager and Bob Lemon as a manager. It was quite an experience for a rookie baseball player, his pitching in the big league.
I got something for you, Greg.
All right, go ahead.
So I mean, that's a real privilege, Greg, to be on here with Mike. You know, I mean, I get to play the years that he did, and most guys don't. I don't think people understand. Mike 14 years, was it? I mean, that's just incredible testimony to not only him, his work ethic, and all it takes to do that. But I'm going to share this with you. I thought it'd be interesting for your fans to know this. Back in Gary LaRoche, I think he's with the Cardinals now, player development. He did a study back in the early 2000s, between 2000 and 2003. And it was a study on following guys were drafted. So during those 4 years, approximately 6,000 players, 1,500 a year. And then it's really, really interesting. You know, everybody knows there's about 8% chance of getting to the big leagues, you know, for, you know, just at least one day. But listen to this. Only 227 of those 6,000 would get more than 1 year of major league service time. You know, that's 3.8%. You know, the number of players get 2 years, more than 2 years, it drops down to under 2% at 1.98%. And the number of guys he found that got 3 or more years in, you know, everybody talks about the 8-10% mark of making it, of those guys get drafted. But 3 or more years, it's 0.75%, less than 1%. I mean, I think it's incredible. When I saw that he put together, I was just blown away. I mean, we all know how hard it is to get there. You know, how hard it is to be drafted and all that and signed, but to stay there. One thing to get there, but to stay there, it's just the odds are just so against the player, and that's why I say go get your education. But my hats off to you, Michael. Good job, man. You beat the odds, brother.
Well, thank you very much. I think part of that is my versatility. You know, I could play other positions pretty regularly, and I had a great arm. That was it. Clint Boyd told me one time, he said, don't ever lose your arm. Like, okay.
Yeah, well, I can attest to that. You know, yeah, multi-million-dollar, I lost my arm, and that's it. Yep. You know, I mean, I was set. You know, rookie year, World Series team. The Royals wanted me because, you know, Derek Carter, Hall of Famer, hurt his thumb in August. And, you know, I mean, the next day, the newspapers were like, worst thing that could happen to Carter, or the Mets, Carter goes down. And, you know, like, okay, well, whatever. And we went 11-3 for those 2 weeks. And Carter, and that's really, I think that's one of the main reasons that, you know, the Royals wanted me to come over and take over that young staff that had Saberhagen, Gubas, all those young pitchers, and grow, you know, be there with them, get them back to World Series just 2 years earlier. And but you know, when I mean, you know, people talk about that's the only bad move John Schertz ever made. And Ed Hearn, the worst trade in the World Series. Well, you know what? You can't control things you can't control. I mean, the big man up there, the big man's got it in control. And you know, you got to do all you can do, and then leave the rest to him. That's my philosophy.
Amen. Well, Gubazov, man, he was tough, man, but he tipped his pitches when he was out of the stretch, not out of the windup, out of the stretch. You got somebody on, then we can start seeing his pitches
right there behind the bat.
Yeah. Well, and when he got the ball up, as soon as he brought it up, he'd spin it. Grip.
So many. I mean, you played all those years. How many guys do you see doing that?
Oh, there's quite a few.
Oh, it's ridiculous. You know, I went after I was out of the game. I took my son to the Royals game, and that was after I was out of the game, I took my son to a Royals game out there, and that was the year they signed Gil Messi. Is that how you say it? You know, the big contract. He was their number one pitcher that year. Well, we're sitting pretty good seats there, on the plate. And by the second inning, I'm calling every pitch to my son.
Yeah.
And he's like, how are you doing that, Daddy? He's young enough, but he was old enough. And I had binoculars, but my view was not any better than the hitter. And so, man, this is a crazy story. And so I took off, said, man, I got to go. Alan Baird was the man then, the GM. So I went upstairs. I said, Cody, I'll be back. I went up there and tried to tell Alan Baird, hey, your multi-million-dollar man is tipping every single pitch. Well, I couldn't find Alan, but I ran into George, BP George, Brett. George is like, by the second day, like, I said, George, hey, listen, Eddie, how you feel? George, listen, I can't find Howard. What are you looking around for? Well, because I want to tell him so you guys can make a adjustment here. What? I tried to tell George. Oh, he tried to get serious. I was like, hey, so I went back, watched the rest of the game. I got a call. I think it was Bobby McClure. I got a call from him the next day. I hear that you said our boy is tipping pitches. I said, well, yep, my son will tell you. And he said, what's he doing? I said, well, I told him. And he said, well, we'll go look at the video. And he called me back the following day and had the nerve to tell me, oh, we didn't see nothing. I said, I mean, what are you looking at? You're videoing from about we're ready to go to the plate. Now I'm looking at the guy in between. Of course, I mean, I'm not the first one to find those pitches, but I used to be pretty darn good at that. Matter of fact, here's another good story for you. I don't care. We're just talking, and I don't care if you use this, whatever you want to do, Greg. But so Billy Bean came up. He was the #1 pick with the Mets, and Billy had every single tool like Strawberry. I mean, they were extremely talented. I didn't have all the tools like Bo, but anyway, that's the other story. But
I don't think he was a fun tool guy though, man.
No, but he was solid. Anyway, but he couldn't hit the curveball. So I played with him in Jackson, Mississippi, AA, and I would hit behind him. I'd hit 4, he'd hit 3, I'd hit 5 or whatever, 5 or 6. And well, I bet I called about at least 60-70% of pitches in Jackson. And then the next year in Tidewater, Norfolk AAA, same thing. And you look on his stats, you see that the only 2 years he hit decent. And, after, I mean, we were roommates too, both those years. And, and then I got thinking, man, I might have ruined that dude's chance to get to the big leagues. He didn't learn how to do it. But we never got caught. And, of course, I mean, it'd been a big price. I hope he paid it instead of me, but we never got caught. I did it for the on deck circle. I mean, 60% of the time, I guarantee you 60%.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, that's really not cheating. Use equipment as a video or electronics, that's cheating. If you use your brain pick up something,
that's absolutely just one of the finer techniques in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a student of the game, and it's just studying. If you pick up on it, that's on them, and it'll change their habits. And so if you pick up on it, you get a competitive edge. That's on them.
Yeah, I hear you. Yes, sir.
Hey man, that's why with your signs at second base, as a guy at second base, if they're too easy, then that's our fault.
Absolutely.
Relay them, but like I said, using videos and stuff like that's just not right.
That's very rude.
All right, so Mike, you're decked out in the Harley gear. So the next question, obviously, from Ricky Gott is, what type of motorcycle do you ride?
I ride a 17 Limited. Harley Davidson. It's a bagger. It's their top bagger. It's like riding a sofa down the road. So I do a lot of traveling on my bike, and I have basically put a wheel in every state. Well, I haven't hit Alaska yet or Hawaii, but I haven't hit those two.
And you do you have certain trips you plan every year? you've already seen them all now. So I guess my follow-up question is there a few particular spots you make sure you hit every year now that you've seen every state?
Yeah, every year I go up to the mountains of North Georgia and love the ride up there. I love the mountains this time of year and in the spring. I just got back from my brother's in Lake Charles, Louisiana. In fact, I sat on the bike. I left at 3:30 in the morning and stopped at my brother's house in Lake Charles, Louisiana at 6:30 that night. It was 850 miles in one sitting. But I've been to California several times. I'm 66 right now, and I think here soon we'll make another west trip with a couple buddies and run with our camping gear. But it's a passion of mine. I've loved it forever.
Well, when you're going down the road on a couch, you can run that many miles, right?
There you go.
Yeah, man. It's like sitting there. It's like, man, this is nice.
I hear you.
So it's a good trip.
The next one's from Chris Williams. It's for both of you. Ed, you can go first. He wants to know who was the most influential person as far as players and coaches during your career.
Oh man, it's sad to tell you this, but I mean, it ain't sad. It's wonderful to tell you this, but I have to tell you that I was in playing ball for 13 years. With a lot of injuries. A lot of minor league years. And I got to be honest with you, there was nobody that came close to impacting me like my dad did. I'm just flat out, in 1983, I went over for the Phillies in the minor leagues, free agent. And I had injuries and missed a year and a half after my rookie season in minor leagues. And, man, I went over the Mets. I told the Phillies, let's be men about this. You're using my offensive. I went from being a number 4 draft pick to, with MVP year at Helena, Montana, with Ryan Sandberg. We were co-MVPs, and I led team home runs, RBIs. And just, I was prospect. I was the real deal. We're looking at being the man in Philly. But, man, I came down with 3 pretty solid injuries. It cost me a year and a half. Well, after that, the Phillies team doctor that put my ankle back together told the Phillies, I found out later that I may not walk again normal at low catch. So the Phillies were just using my offensive bat as an organizational guy. And finally, I kind of figured it out. But I said, look, let's be men about this. I got a lot of things to do in life besides baseball. But I'm not going to play in the big leagues as a DH first baseman. I'm not going to hit, 30, 40 home runs a year. And so I signed with the Mets. They gave me a chance. They promised me, and they held the promise. Catch at least 50% of the time, went to Lynchburg. And I forgot what I was talking about. Got a damn long ass story for nothing, wasn't it? Let's see, Lynchburg. Oh, so Dad. And we do that, then we go to the mountain like it's his fault, right?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Fastball.
Yeah. So I go to Lynchburg there in 1983, and if you want to talk about that, Greg, you can about the 4 consecutive years that I was on a championship team, consecutive order to minor leagues to the World Series. I'm talking too fast now, but I'm hitting about $170 halfway through the season. The way to make a good first impression. And my dad came into town, and we just did some basic fundamental stuff. And he knew my swing, and he could just get me back to basics. And I must have hit 450 the last 6 weeks, and ended up going to structure league and big bang, and I get to big league in a couple of years. But I'm telling you, I have to be honest with you. I was disappointed with when I look back at the coaching, some of which I felt was detrimental. Honestly, guys got some coaching job for I don't know what reason. And I think they can actually hurt a guy. You're young, coming up through, minor league, you think all these guys know what they're talking about. I look back and I think some of the stupidest things that they tried to get me to do, and other guys. You can ruin a career by teaching a guy how to throw wrong or something, pitchers, whatever. So I have to be honest with you and tell you that, my dad was absolutely the most influential person in my life from the time I was a kid. And what's interesting, when I watched that 30 for 30 document, Greg, you talked about the ESPN just did. To hear Keith Hernandez, I had no idea, even in 1986, how influential his dad was. Too much at that point, as it turned out to be. I had no clue. But the fact that he was even communicating that late in Keith's career about his hitting just blew me away. There's another guy. He relied on his dad to help him through a long part of it, but then at the end it got a little too intense, and it's a wonderful part of that 30 for 30.
I can't say I blame you, man. Growing up as a Braves fan, though, Chipper Jones throughout his career, he played almost 20 years, and he had hitting coaches like Don Baylor and among others. But every time he'd get into a slump, being a switch hitter, he would either call his dad up or he'd come into town, and Larry Sr. would work on Chipper, and he knew his swing better than anybody. And I felt like after that, Chipper would go on a little tear after he got some FaceTime with his dad. So you're not the only one.
No, and I learned that more so just a couple of weeks ago with that 30 for 30 with Hernandez. I mean, I know some guys had the same type of relationship and all, but as far as professional coaching stuff, there were some managers that I think were really important. And you talk about about a guy like Bob Schaefer. Nobody knows Bob, but Sam Palazzo, the Mets. Those kind of managers, they were players managers,
right.
And Mike knows what I'm talking about. They're real true leaders, and you want to win for them. And it takes you outside yourself, because it's one of the things I talk about when I'm speaking. Everybody talks about think outside the box. I say, oh, come on, damn it, that's ridiculous. The important thing is think outside yourself, and that's what you do when you have a manager, or a coach, or a leader, somebody at work that draws the best out of you. Where you want to win, you want to produce for them, and then you're not even thinking about yourself. So there are some people that made a difference, but as far as coaching me, I got the same dad.
Mike, did you have someone that stood out for you, either player-wise or coach-wise, during your career that influenced you the most?
Yeah, the number one guy that got me when I was 13 years old, his name was Mike Roig, or Avelio Roig. He was in the Cincinnati organization and pitched for Tampa Smokers. And he got me when I was 13 years old, me and another guy, Ronnie Hamilton, and he would take us out every Sunday and hit us ground balls and work on our game and everything like that. And that's what made me a better baseball player when I was 13 to 18. He really helped me through my career in that part. But the other people that helped me through my career, there's Elston Howard talked to me a lot. Thurman talked to me a lot. Stuck Merrill was one of my coaches in AA. He was great. Billy talked quite a bit. Martin. And a guy that was our catching guy in Oakland really helped me quite a bit, and was Bob Didier. So there's several names that are in the big leagues and guys that were former major leaguers and all. But as being a rookie with the Yankees going up, Elston Howard used to talk to me on the bench quite a bit when I was with the Yankees, and it started to get the ball rolling and with me. But people have to remember, I was drafted as a middle infielder. I was a shortstop, and I got converted to a catcher. And so what happened, it seemed to become a little easy for me, but I worked hard at the position. But Bob Didier and Stump Merrill really helped me in that aspect as far as catching.
All right, well, so follow up, this question kind of leads into that. So this is from Lee Schelling. Did you aspire to be a catcher, Mike, or did a position chose you? You said you had the versatility to play the other positions with your arm, but did you want to be a catcher, or is it just kind of ended up being that way?
Well, I was in AAA with the Yankees, and Bobby Cox was the manager, and I was playing third base, and I was doing pretty well in spring training. So Cloyd Boyer came up to me and said, "Hey, Mike, I need to talk to you." I thought I was getting released. Hey, Cloyd, I said, "We've known each other for a while, right? I'm not getting released." He says, No. He says, "They want to move you to a catcher. What do you think?" And I said, "Whatever it takes to get to the big leagues, that's what I want to do." And so the Yankees had decided to move me to catcher. Chief, I forgot the other guy that kind of suggested it. I probably remember it here a little bit, but they suggested move me to the to a catcher. So I went and talked to Bobby Cox, and he said, "The problem is you're going to have to go back to A ball." So I went to A ball and spent A ball in the Florida State League, and then after that, I went to Double A, and Jerry and Aaron and I were in Double A together, and both of us made the All-Star team, and it just for me. So I love the position. The last time I caught prior to that, I was like 13, 14, but I think catching was the best position for me, and the outfield was my second best position.
What about you, Ed? Was you a catcher all along, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, I wanted to be an NFL quarterback. That was my dream. And that's what I wanted to do all the way up through high school, but our high school didn't have the kind of program that was, I was a drop back, I was, thrower and that sort of thing. But my dad brought home this green Army sack full of catching gear at 7 years old, the Little League B team. And he dumped that stuff out on the living floor. I could almost see it today. And he said, "Hey, Eddie, what do you think about this gear? What do you think about catching? You think that'd be fun?" And I remember putting that stuff on and thinking, "Wow, this is pretty cool." And man, I was off. It just was. And the more I, I played other positions, shortstop and all, when the older guys had to catch and all. But man, once I got through in 10 years old, man, I caught all the way up, and I wasn't as flexibly talented as Michael. I don't think I could run around, and I think I played American Legion ball when I was 14. And I wasn't gonna catch on that team. They had some big old boy. I was just, they stuck me out in right field, and man, that fly ball would come out that way. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. I'm like, oh my goodness. But Michael's a stud, man. You can put him anywhere, he can play the game. So and to become a catcher, I cannot visualize that mid-career in professional ranks. That's just incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so this is for both of you. We'll start with Mike from Thomas Green. What do you think of pitching in the era that we're currently in with the shift? And does that limit calling outside pitches with the shift that we see? Because everybody's pull happy. So does that limit your play calling? What do you think about the shift today and the pitching?
The fans want the offense, right? But if they want to put more offense in the game, take away the shift where you can't shift. We would shade guys, but we wouldn't shift them like this. They did for the hand lick, everything.
I refuse to comment on that question. I'm sorry. I despise that. I despise that question. I think Mike did well not losing his cool, talking about the idiot stuff that goes on today in this game, this analytical. Sorry.
Duly noted, Ed. All right, so the next one is from Mike, from Daniel Gaffario. What was it like being a catcher on the 78 World Series Yankees? And what was your relationship like with Munson, and did he mentor you at all?
Yeah, Daniel, that's a great question. Thurman was a great guy to me. In fact, he took me underneath his wing, as so did Elston Howard did when I was on, not playing. But being able to go out there and catch guys like Ron Guidry, you can get catfish. I even caught catfish in a game. Kidrow, there's just goose and sparkle out. You're just, for me as being a rookie, being there, I was just throwing down numbers, and it seemed like I was throwing the right ones down, and catching these guys was awesome. But also at the same time, I had to look at it that I had to do my job back there. I didn't let all of the New York Yankees try to overpower me as far as when I was on the field. So it was just a great experience. And Thurman, I can't say enough about him. He used to talk to me quite a bit. I even flew with him before in his plane. He me quite a bit. And I don't know what to say. It was just, I was involved when I was there, but I didn't let it affect my thinking once I got on the field because once I get between those white lines, it's all business. And it was just really being able to catch some of those guys.
Yeah, this one's for you from Dan Emery. Who's the pitcher who threw the hardest to you?
Oh, Doc threw hard. These radar guns today, I mean, people don't throw 105 miles an hour, 102. That's just ridiculous. I mean, it's just, but Doc threw hard. There was a kid came up with the Phillies, I think, DeJesus. That brother could sling it. He knew where it's going, but he ended up figuring it out eventually. But I mean, he'd wear you out back there. I mean, I think it got so much easier to catch the higher you got up in pro ball. I remember rookie league in Helen, man. Them guys, they drafted potential pretty much. Tools and all. These guys come in there slinging at 95. Well, 95 was like 100. Today. And but they knew where it was going, man. It was a workout. Whew. But I really never. I mean, I don't think it was such a big deal catching guys that threw hard. I mean, that doesn't stick out in my mind much. I mean, occasionally you get worn out in the hand fingers and all, but I'd much rather. I thought it was funner to catch the guys that had the good off speed stuff, guys who could spot the ball, the guy that had control of 4 pitches, and you can call anything anytime you wanted. It was great to mess with the hitter. Great.
So the next question is from Mike, also from Dan Emery. Who is your favorite manager to play for?
No doubt in my mind, I have 2. Sorry. Billy Martin and Sparky Anderson. I love Billy. He's my type of manager. A lot of guys, didn't like him because, he'd always get on you, but I love that type of manager. And I played for Sparky later on in my career with the Tigers, and Sparky was a little more mellow. I think when he was younger, as far as the Cincinnati Reds, he was an aggressive manager also, but Sparky was really good for me later on in my career, but I love Billy Martin and love Sparky.
I was hoping you'd throw Bobby in there, but you weren't with him that long, but I understand.
Yeah, no, Bobby, I've known Bobby since 74 with the Yankees, and Bobby Cox is a great manager. I mean, he was just a great man. He really is.
Before I ask you both this question, I think of Bull Durham, and I think of the scene where Crash Davis comes out and he's telling Meat what pitch to throw, and Meat don't want to listen to him. He's the up-and-coming prospect, and he's like, I'm going to throw what I want to throw. I got a $1 million arm, go to hell, go back here and catch me. So he didn't want to listen. The guy gets in the box. Crash tells him what's coming. The guy knocks it off the Bull. And then he was like, he's almost like he knew what was coming. He's like, yeah, he did, because I told him. So the next question is from Lee Schilling, and I'll start with Mike first. What happens when a pitcher doesn't want to throw the pitch that the catcher calls for?
Well, that's about it. The deal behind that of it is if I see something, what the hitter's doing, or he's starting to catch up to a certain pitch, or I see him making the adjustment, I'll throw down a pitch. And then if he shakes me off, and if I throw it down again, he said, I'll go out and talk to him. And say, hey, man, okay, so what are you thinking? Obviously, but this is what I see. So, usually if I throw it down twice and they step off and shake off, I'll go out and take a stroll out there and talk to them. But there was one time, and I'll mention God bless his soul, Don Sutton. I remember Lloyd Mosby was the batter, and I called a fastball in. We wanted to run it in on him, and so called it in. And Don stepped off real quick, and Lloyd saw me sitting underneath his hand. So we go back, and so I go to my. It was like this. He saw me. He saw me. So I went away. Don Sutton shook me off. Shook me off a step up. So I went running out there. I said, "Hey, Don, he saw me sitting in his hands. He told me not to defy him, and the pitchy, so don't you defy me? And so that was one of the arguments I had one time with, but 90, 99, 90% of the time, if they shake me off, I'll go out and ask them what they think of that situation, because you don't want him to throw something he doesn't want to throw, and so you make him make the decision that, hey, okay, that's what you want to do, let's go get him. So you make him throw what he wants to throw at that point.
Ed, anything to add to that one?
Not much. I think early in my career, I was taught strongly that in the paper the next day, it doesn't say losing catcher Heath or Hearn.
Yeah.
So right on with Mike. I mean, what Mike said most importantly is, if you make a guy throw something, I mean, do you think he's going to throw his best, whatever you call there? No, he's going to flop that up, and it might end up next state.
Yeah, that's right.
You're just not going to get his best. But when you're in sync with a pitcher and he's out there thinking, and then when he sees that same thing that he's wanting to throw, man, that's just juice for him. It's not a matter how long the game takes. If you're doing that, because if you got that work with him, his confidence is so much stronger.
Absolutely. So none of that Bull Durham stuff really happens. Is it that just Hollywood, right? We'll leave it in Hollywood. Hey guys, so we got another show to do. We went a little long. We had some technical difficulties, but we overcome it. We got the catcher's perspective. The fans got the questions they wanted to hear. You all went at length. You all do the old jokes back and forth, but hell, your memory is almost better than mine, I think. And I'm only 39, so I think you're doing just fine. I appreciate you guys coming on. I'd like to have you both on, preferably next year, if you'd be willing to come on and talk again. It's been a pleasure, guys, and thanks for doing the show, and thanks for the fan interaction. We'll post it hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning. Sound good?
Sounds
yes,
great.
Sir. I mean, it sounds great. Go ahead, Mike. Go.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for thinking of me, and I'd love to join you anytime on your show. You would love to have me on. It's all good, man, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Greg, I echo that. I appreciate the fan interaction. It's neat to interact with people, the folks that are true fans, and that they want to know this stuff. And, quite frankly, for any of us that played the game, it's always fun to talk about the ball game for the fans, but for me, and probably Mike as well, to hear some of the stuff that he talked about, that's fun for me. I'm sitting back here listening, going, oh, yeah, that's cool. Oh, I didn't know that. So thanks for having us, Greg. Appreciate it, man. You keep swinging. You're doing a good job, man. Hopefully you fill up this group and have a good time with this.
Amen, brother. I appreciate you guys. And if you haven't already, invite some of your friends that played with you. I'd appreciate it. And until next time, I appreciate it.